previewing the Raiders versus Cowboys.
Yeah, at the end of the day, really, what I'm most interested in is who makes this team and who doesn't post the Cowboy game. As far as this game goes, I think the thing I'm most excited to see is, or the person, is Deuce Vaughn. He'll definitely be out there. He's been lighting it up, and he just seems like fun to watch. And that's all the Cowboys will get from me. As far as the Raiders, I'm curious to see if Brian Hoyer plays himself off of this team. I wouldn't be mad about it. And of course, I'm obviously excited to watch more of Aiden O'Connell and see if he plays himself into Brian Hoyer being off of this team, right? But again, from earlier, Garoppolo's so iffy with his health. I wouldn't be shocked if they keep 3 quarterbacks, but that's something I'm looking at. Do they keep 2 or 3? I'm just going to kind of go by position. Running back, I don't really have a major question. I think it's becoming pretty obvious. It's Josh Jacobs, Zamir White, Amir Abdullah, and Brandon Bolden. But maybe Bolden gets beat out by somebody else. But based off of the Rams game and him getting part of the first drive and the touchdown, I think he's on this team. Wide receiver, this is a big one. I think Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Hunter Renfrow, they're obviously locks. But then also DeAndre Carter, I think he's a lock to make this team. And I would say Trey Tucker is obviously a lock as well because he's a 3rd-round pick. I think there's a battle going on between Philip Dorsett and Christian Wilkerson. Mm-hmm. Maybe they both make the team. But I'm curious to see if it's one or the other, who it is. I think Trey Tucker kind of takes Philip Dorsett's spot. I would probably keep Wilkerson, but you can't have enough speed or too much speed, so you could go either way. And then I think Keelan Cole's probably another veteran practice squad guy. I'd like to see Cam Sims on the practice squad as well. He's the guy who caught the other touchdown in the Rams game. I forgot. And that was a nice play. But it seems like he's starting to get buried. Unless they want to, end zone, throw up and get it type of target, then yeah, he's good. So tight end, I'm curious to see what happens with Cole Fotheringham. I believe undrafted rookie. Could be wrong there. But anyways, I see it as Hooper, Mayer, Horsted, Fotheringham, Samuel Shanker, and Hollister. I haven't seen anything from Samuel Shanker or Hollister, no offense. And like I said earlier, Hondo said that he thinks Michael Mayer is a starter at tight end. Does that mean Austin Hooper's spot is in jeopardy? If that's the case, I could see it being Mayer, Horsted, and Fotheringham, but that's a pretty young core. Or not core, but, unit. I think you keep Hooper, Mayer, probably Horsted, maybe hope to get Fotheringham on the practice squad. Because like I've said, this team feels pretty deep. I don't think you can keep 4 tight ends. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I like what I've seen so far from Fotheringham. I'll be looking out for him this weekend for sure. I think Justin Herron's the backup left tackle because there's really nobody else other than Jermaine Illuminor, who is, I believe, the starter at right tackle. Illuminor is an inside joke because I mispronounced the fuck out of his name the first time I said it on here. Illuminor is what I said. Anyways, I'm curious to see if Dylan Parham comes back even just this week, but in this game, like I said, I think it's a concussion, but I don't know. But he's been out since the Niner game. Netani Moody's been doing pretty good. I'm curious to see how the offensive guard positions fill out. Curious to see if Hronis Grasu makes this team as the backup center, because I've seen some teams not carry a center and just carry like a backup guard that can also play center. But I'm sure Grasu could also play guard, so fuck it. Dalton Wagner at right tackle. I'm curious to see if he makes his team.
He should. Because if he doesn't, I would take him if I was the Niners. Like, he might be better than a lot of guys that they have. So,
I mean, the Niners saw him play. He would probably end up on the Niners, so He's the type of guy who they probably came in thinking, oh, he could probably be a practice squad guy, and then he goes out there and he just like bullies dudes, and it's like, we probably can't cut this guy. So we'll see. Malcolm Kuntz has, I think, played himself into a backup spot on this team again, but I was really liking what I saw from Isaac Rochelle. Yeah, I mean, you also have Tyree Wilson, Jordan Willis, so I mean it's not too tough, but there might be one guy that they have a hard time cutting from that group at edge defenders. Defensive tackle, I'm super curious to see how that fills out. It's possible that one of those guys, specifically Matthew Butler from last year's draft, doesn't make this team because a guy like John Jenkins or Adam Butler makes it over him.
And now, are you talking about just the D-line specifically, or also the defensive ends?
Well, first I said defensive ends: Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, Isaac Rochelle, Chandler Jones, Tyree Wilson, Jordan Willis. Those are all guys I could see making this team. I mean, some of them are obvious, right? But I mean, you also have Adam Plant, George Tarlas, David. Oh fuck! I think I still have it spelt wrong. I think it's Agoha, but the Nigerian. They got the sack last weekend. I don't see him making the team, but he could be a practice squad guy. But I was talking about defensive ends, and then just now I was talking about D tackles. I see it as Bilal Nichols, Jerry Tillery. I mean, you keep Byron Young. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
You keep Byron Young, 3rd-round pick. I think Neil Farrell was playing with the starters last weekend, so he's probably a lock. That's four guys I think I just named. Nesta Jade Silvera is a 7th-round pick, and he's had a lot of hype coming out of camp. Do you keep 5? John Jenkins, Adam Butler, do you keep 6? Or you're not keeping more than 6 D tackles. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's not like they can go out there and just play on special teams. I guess maybe they could, but really? So D tackle feels kind of deep, not really in the greatest sense, but more of just that's a tough position to figure out right now. If I'm in charge, I don't know who to cut. So I'm curious there. Linebacker, really, honestly, linebacker is kind of the same thing. I mean, Darian Butler went out on IR, but you have Robert Spillane, starter, Divine Diablo, starter, Luke Masterson, undrafted rookie from last year. On the unofficial depth chart, he was also a starter, but I don't think they're running 3 linebacker sets on base defense. It's a nickel defense. So he's probably the main backup to, say, Spillane, but I think Drake Thomas has showed out. He might earn a spot. But you also have Curtis Bolton, who's doing great on special teams and punched out a forced fumble, I think, against the Niners. So he could make this team. And then you also have Amari Burney, who I think is definitely making this team. So that's another position with tough decisions. And again, it's not like the depth is super great or it's super top heavy. It's just good luck picking the right guy, or the guy to cut, and even it's similar at corner, and I think it's pretty similar at safety. It's just, I think they're going to have hard decisions on defense. And I know that sounds weird because the Raiders aren't known for having good defenses, but credit to Dave Ziegler. I think he has done a fantastic job of giving these positions opportunities through depth, signings, and draft picks to find role players. So yeah, just sum it up. Corner and safety, yeah, I'm super curious to see who stays and who goes, because a guy like Amik Robertson, David Long, like I said earlier this episode, I think he started that last Rams game. I could see him getting cut. Brendan Faison is hurt. I wouldn't be shocked if he makes the team, and then the day after the roster cuts are done, he goes on IR. He goes on IR, and then they intend to bring him back in 8 weeks. So then what happens is a guy like, say, Dalton Wagner, who they cut, they sign him right back. I could see that happening, but you still have to cut somebody to do it.
you can't place them on IR before the cut, or does that indicate that they're out for the year?
The year, yeah. So like Darian Butler, he got put on IR, done. So that's why a lot of players you see, they get put on IR. Like DJ Turner, he's a return guy and a wide receiver for the Raiders. He got put on IR. The next day, he got cut with an injury settlement because he doesn't want to be out on IR for the year. He wants to sign with another team.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he knows if he gets put on IR before the season, he's done. Unless he gets cut with an injury settlement, then he can sign elsewhere eventually. So, yeah, I mean,
and is it still COVID IR, or did they change it back? Like, you know how with the IR they shortened the time to return.
Right. That's a good question. I'm sure for the regular season it probably still is the same because I mean COVID's still a thing. So
yeah, it's coming back. It's making a comeback like Trey Lance in the fourth quarter against the Broncos.
Yeah. So, moral of the story here for me, I'm just curious to see how the very end of the depth for the Raiders plays in this game, and henceforth how that affects the 53-man roster cuts. That's what I'm looking for in this game.